Om Shrutismritipurananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavadpada-shankaram Lokashankaram Ajnananjanhavitirtham Vidyatirtham Vivekinam Sarvesham Sukadam Tirtham Bharati Tirthamashraye Vidya Vinaya Sampannam Vitaragam Vivekinam Vande Vedanta Tattvajnam Vidhushekara Bharati. Dear friends, welcome to another session of our discussions on Prabodha Sudhakara. We are all very fortunate to be meeting together on this wonderful occasion of Acharya's Vardhanti, which happens to be celebrated as Vajrotsava Bharati on this occasion. So with prostrations to Mahasanidanam and Sri Sanidanam, let us start our discussions. In the last meeting, we had seen Nadanusandhanam. In this meeting, we are going to see the 14th chapter of this text, Manolaya Prakaranam. So in this chapter, Bhagavad Pada is going to describe how the mind acquiesces, in the sense that how the mind absorbs into the self, leaving behind only the self, and therefore essentially describing the mind of a Jivan Mukta, to put it in a very succinct manner. This Manolaya is different from the temporary Manolaya which happens through some specific yoga sadhanas and the like. This Manolaya which is talked about here, Manolaya means the mind getting into a state of quiescence, into a quietude of great peace and stability. So this Manolaya is being talked about after the process of Shravana Manana Nidhyasana is complete and the knowledge of the Atman has been gained, and then the sadhaka is with one pointed attention is focusing on the knowledge and has resolved everything back into the self. When that happens, the mind subsides, and this mind which has subsided is said to be in a laya. That is, it's said to be in a absorbed state, unmanifest state, and so on. And this absorbed state or unmanifest state never vanishes, and the non-vanishing nature of this is called laya in this particular chapter. So now let us look at the verses. संसारतारतप्तं नानायोनिभ्रमात् परिश्रान्तं लब्ध्वा परमानन्दं न चलति चेतः कदा क्वापि. So recall from the end of the last chapter that via the Nadanusandhana process, which is a kind of Nididhyasanam, one can say, the mind slowly gets absorbed, slowly gets quietened in a step-by-step manner, and enjoys the nadas which arise in the subtle manner, the subtle sounds which arise as the process of meditation, the process of nidhyasanam deepens. This subtle sounds which arise slowly recede back the mind into the self. When this happens, a great peace or a great joy arises in the mind. So that is what is called in this verse as Paramanandam, the great joy or the great bliss. The mind which has experienced this Paramananda essentially stops completely from running here and there behind worldly objects. This idea is being reiterated again and again in this chapter. Now let us look at this verse. Sansara tarataptam nana yoni brahmat parishrantam. So the mind which has been burned in the fire of samsara, sansara tapa taptam, nana yoni brahmat parishrantam. So the mind has been going through one yoni, one womb after another womb after another womb. In every janma, in each and every janma, one particular womb it is going through. So the jiva is being talked about here. This jiva is going through various wombs in every birth. For every birth, there is one womb. There is a mother, there is a father, and then the next Janma, another mother, another father, and so on and so forth. This Jiva, this mind is going through these various wombs, and in the whole process, it becomes tired. Parishrantam. Yoni, Nana Yoni Brahmat Parishrantam. By this journey, eternal, continuous journey, not eternal journey, continuous journey, this mind has become very tired. Then this tired mind, this mind which has become disturbed, which has become tremendously, what do you say, suffered through these births and deaths and births and deaths, continuous journey, wants to seek some resting place. So, having found the joy of the self, having found this great joy in the through the nididhyasanam process, which was completed after the Shravana and Manana, this mind can finally rest. Labdhva Paramanandam. Having attained the Paramananda, having attained the bliss, having attained the joy of the self, na chalati, chetaha na chalati. The mind no longer has to run behind anything else again. Kada kwapi. Neither it has to run now nor later, neither it has to run behind anything at all forever. So the mind has finally found its home, you can say. And once it has come home, it need not go anywhere else. It gets all its desires satisfied. It gets all the joy satisfied in the joy of the Atmananda itself. That is the message. अद्वैतानन्दभरात् किमिदं कोऽहं च कस्याहम् इति मन्थरतां यातं यदा तदा मूर्छितं चेतः. See, this mind, so long as the Atman is not understood, so long as the Atmananda is not enjoyed, so long as the journey of the Jiva is still continuing, there are some fundamental questions which plagues the jiva, which plagues the mind again and again. What are these questions? Who am I? Koham? Aham kaha? Who am I? Kimidam? What is this before me? What is the nature of this world which is there before me? What should I do in this world? Kasyaham? Who is my keeper? Who is my caretaker? Am I alone in this world? Is there anybody who will remain with me forever? Is there anybody on whom I can lean for support in my difficult times? These are very, very fundamental questions about life. A person who is continuously distracted by worldly things may not have these questions. Not everybody in this world is seen to be roaming around with these questions consciously. However, if we ask the question, are you peaceful? The answer generally comes, I am not peaceful. Are you happy? Are you content in life? Are you satisfied? The answer generally happens to be, I am discontent, I am not content, I am not satisfied yet. There are still things for me I have to do, and through that I have to get somewhere and achieve the happiness. Now I am not happy. Even if I am happy, I am not happy enough. Still more happiness I want, still more things I have to do. Contentment is not there, satisfaction, peace of mind is not there. So, people, in spite of not having this peace of mind, in spite of not being discontent, they go about their daily activities. They are distracted by their routine. They remain involved in the ups and downs of life without understanding that there needs to be a step taken back. One has to take a mental step back from the whole show of life and ask and try to answer these fundamental questions at a fundamental level. Without having answered these questions, one doesn't understand what is the real goal of life. See, ko aham, who am I? What is my real nature? Without understanding this, how do I know what I really want? What is this world? Is it capable of satisfying me or not capable of satisfying me? Without having answered this question, my pursuits, worldly pursuits, will always be done in a confused manner. I don't know what I'm looking for. I just, whatever is my next fascination, I go towards that. Then after gaining that, after having understood it does not really satisfy me, I get another fascination, another thing I am fascinated by in this world, then I run behind that, and so on and so forth. Just not unlike that golden deer which was which was chased by Sri Rama. In the same way, we are also chasing some Mayavi golden deer in our lives. This so-called happiness through worldly attainments, we continue to run behind it without realizing that through worldly attainments, this happiness doesn't come. So, Kimidam, what is the nature of this world? Confusion is there about it, which is indicated by our pursuit of worldly things. Kaha aham, what is my nature? Confusion is only there about this nature of the mind, nature of oneself, because if the nature of oneself is really understood, then the mind will not keep running. Kasya aham, who is my keeper, who is my safeguard, who is my insurance policy in this world? Can my safety, my security, my happiness be ever insured by anybody? Can it be ensured by anybody? Insured by anybody? Can somebody guarantee that I will be happy? Mind is always searching for such a person, such an entity. So some people try to rely on their relatives, some people try to rely on their children, some people try to rely on their spouse, some people try to rely on their occupation, those who are employing them. Some people rely on their employees. Maybe they are running an organization, they have employees, they run and they depend on their employees to keep them happy. So, like this, every person generally relies upon somebody else, somebody else's actions, somebody else's behavior, somebody else's life for their happiness. So, who is that which will really keep me happy? Nobody who is there in this world can really keep us happy. For various reasons, they will disappoint, they will ignore sometimes, they will not live up to what we desire for, or life will be going on in such a way that we may not be with them all the time. In one way or another, we will be disappointed if we rely upon others for our happiness. So there is nobody who is in this world who really belongs to us, whom we can really depend on. So this facts about life remain as confusions as long as this Advaita Ananda is not experienced, is not understood properly. After having enjoyed this Advaita Atma Ananda, after having experienced the joy of the self, the joy of being oneself really, one's own nature really, these fundamental questions simply vanish from the mind. So you see, Advaitananda Bharat, Kimidam, Koham, Kasyaham cha iti mantaratam yatam yada tada mochitam chetaha. So, yada mantaratam yatam. In this way, the mind has been thinking, Koham, Kasyaham, Kimidam, who am I, who belongs to me in this world? What is the nature of this world? Can I ever be happy? Can I be, always secure, etc., etc.? So many fundamental questions. These questions remain until the Atman is not understood. Advaitananda Bharat, after having understood the Atman, after having enjoyed the blissful nature of the self, these questions, the mind becomes bored off. The mind is not no longer interested in these questions because it sees no purpose in asking the questions itself. These questions have been resolved in the mind. These questions, the answers have been obtained and they have been resolved. These questions itself don't remain. Not that the answers are obtained in a positive way, But essentially, by understanding the nature of the self, these questions completely vanish from the mind. Tada murchitam chetaha. In this context, in the context of raising these questions, the mind becomes as though it is, what do you say? It has completely vanished from its and thinking process. It's no longer thinks about these questions. Let us go to the next verse. चिरतरमात्मानुभवादात्माकारं प्रजायते चेतः सरिदिव सागरयाता समुद्रभावं प्रयात्युच्चैः. So one beautiful and common analogy is given of the state of the mind after having understood or after having enjoyed the Atmananda, how the mind is. What is the analogy here? Sagarayata Saridiva Samudra Bhavam Prayati. Uchchaihi Samudra Bhavam Prayati. So, as though the mind attains the bliss of the Atman, the mind reflects the nature of the Atman in the same way as Sagarayata Saridiva, in the same way as the river which merges with the ocean, as though the river which merges with the ocean, after merging with the ocean, can we say that the river is separate, the ocean is separate? The river merges with the ocean. Before merging, there is ocean, there is river, two things. After merging, the ocean and river are not two things, there is ocean only. So, Sagarayata Saridiva Samudra Bhavam, Uchchaihi Samudra Bhavam Prayati. The great oceanic nature is acquired by the river after it merges with the ocean. The river becomes called as the ocean after it merges. Before it merges with the ocean, it is a separate thing. After it merges with the ocean, it becomes one with the ocean only. One cannot say there are two things. One cannot say there are ocean is there, river is there, the ocean remains separate, the river remains separate, or the river remains within the ocean. Like that, no such duality language cannot be used after the merging has happened. In the same way, when the mind has acquired the bliss of the self, when the mind has understood the nature of the self, this mind cannot be said to be existing separately from the Atma, from the self. So, Chiratara Atmanubhavat. Chirataram Atmanubhavat. So, after having enjoyed the Atmanubhava, the after having enjoyed the nature of the self, after having reflected deeply upon the nature of the self repeatedly again and again for a sufficiently long time, the mind becomes so pure, so calm, so content, so fulfilled in itself that it can be said to have the Atmakara. That is, it can be said to mimic the nature of the self. What is the nature of the self as revealed by the Shastra? Sat Chit Ananda. Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa it is. It is full of joy and fullness. It is nothing but the nature of fullness itself. The Atman doesn't have any lack. It is Purna. In the same way, this mind, after reflecting upon the nature of the Atman again and again, after having enjoyed the experience of this Atmananda again and again, it no longer attains a disturbed nature, it no longer lacks anything, it no longer feels, the mind no longer says or reports that I need something to be happy. It is always happy, it is always blissful, it is always enjoys the joy. It enjoys in the joy of the self, you can say. So this fullness, which is the nature of the self, becomes the nature of the mind also. So the mind also can be said to be equivalent to the Atma, if not equal, equivalent to the Atma. So Atmakaram Chetaha Prajayate. So this Atmakara, this Chetaha, this mind attains that. This Atmakara means the second nature, the nature of the Atma, you can say. The form of the Atma. The Atma doesn't have a form. If one says the form of the Atma is acquired, Atmakara Chetaha Prajayate, then one has to say the way to interpret this would be that the mind attains fullness and stops lacking anything. It doesn't report that I lack something, I need something for being happy. It no longer asks for anything in this world. So that is the way it remains full and complete, joyous always. Continuing. आत्मन्यनुप्रविष्टं चित्तं नापेक्षते पुनर्विषयान् क्षीरादुद्धृतमाज्यं यथा पुनः क्षीरतां न यातीह आत्मनि अनुप्रविष्टं चित्तं. This mind which has entered into the self. You see, we saw in the previous verse that the river is entering into the Atma, the river is entering into the Sagara, the river is entering into the ocean. Analogous to that, here Acharya is saying, Chittam Anupravishtam Atmani, Atmani Anupravishtam. So this mind has entered the self. What does it mean? As though the self, there is anything apart from the self. This Advaita Atma, when we say, there is nothing apart from Brahman, there is nothing apart from the self. So where is the question of this mind entering the anything? See, when we say river enters the self, river enters the ocean, actually in that analogy, river is one thing, ocean is another. After merging only, ocean is the only thing which is there, river is not there. But initially, river is one thing, ocean is another. We can identify two things there. Ocean is one, river is another one. So duality is there. So when we say the mind enters the self, actually from the self's point of view, there is no duality. But from the point of view of the mind, as long as the Advaita Atma is not understood, there is duality. There is experience of duality. So this mind apparently enters the self. It stops appreciating, it stops paying attention to duality, it stops giving any reality to duality. All duality as though vanishes from the mind. All duality is absorbed into the non-dual self. That is the way we have to understand Chittam Manupravishtam Atmani, this particular phrase. Na Apekshate पुनः विषयान पुनः न अपेक्षते. After having being absorbed in the nature of the self, it no longer desires for the worldly objects. Vishayan na punaha apekshate. It no longer desires for the worldly objects. Analogy, beautiful analogy is given. In what way? In what way we are saying, or what is the in what way we have to understand this? You see, it is not that in the moment of enjoying the Atma, it doesn't appreciate the worldly things. It is not like that. Today, in my meditation, I found Atma. I enjoyed the Atma. I had the bliss of the Atma in my mind. So today, I don't want anything. Tomorrow morning, I want my coffee in the morning. I want nice hot coffee in the morning. It has to be tasty filter coffee. No, sir, not like that. The real self, having understood it properly, having become absorbed in it, having understood there is nothing apart from it, having deeply appreciated this fact, the mind which has deeply appreciated this fact, the mind which understands that there is nothing apart from the self, the mind which deeply understands this without a second thought, without a doubt, and also has, by the repeated nididhyasanam, brought this into its own nature. The mind has become of the nature of the self by repeated nididhyasanam. This mind no longer, that means not today, not tomorrow, not 100 years later, to whatever extent the person lives, Until that point, such desires for worldly things, Vishayan na apekshate punaha. Again, it doesn't desire. Every desire of worldly thing was in the past, no longer in the future. Desires are completely uprooted from the mind. The mind doesn't have any lack for any worldly thing. The mind doesn't say, unless I have this, I will not be happy anymore. What is the example? Kshirad uddhrutamajyam yatha punaha kshiratam nayati iha. See, this kshira is milk. So, from the milk, ajyam, ghee is produced. This ghee, which is produced from the milk, can it be again absorbed back into the milk? Not at all. Once the milk has curdled, and the curdled milk is then you sort of mix it well and produce the butter from it, and then the butter is what do you say, clarified to produce ghee. So a whole process has happened through which ghee has become extracted from the milk. After having separated, the milk has become curd now, the curd has become buttermilk, the buttermilk has become ghee, buttermilk has become butter and then ghee. Now this ghee is separate, the buttermilk is separate. Where to ask for the milk again now? Milk itself is not there. So entire thing cannot be reversed, you see. This process cannot be reversed. One cannot ask for the milk again with the ghee absorbed back into it. You cannot ask for it. It is stupid. In the same way, this mind which has become absorbed into the self, which recognizes that nothing else except the self exists, this mind, in that mind, worldly desire can never arise. You cannot ask for worldly desire to arise in the first place. Worldly desire means what? A desire which says, without this I will not be happy. Such a desire will never arise in the mind. So, with definitive statements, Bhagavad Padal here is saying that the mind will become completely free of all troubles. Desires are the cause for troubles, you see. Expectation is the cause for troubles. Such expectation and desire will be completely removed from the mind. So, this mind, therefore, without having desires and expectations, will enjoy its own real nature, which is joy, which is the nature of the self. That is the idea. So now deeper, a little bit deeper here. Drishtau, drishtari drishye, yadanasyutam cha bhanamatram syat, tatropakshinam chet chittam tanmurchitam bhavati. So again, chittam tanmurchitam bhavati. The mind does not raise its hood anymore. The mind is always quiet. That is the idea. Now, in what is the context here? Drishtau drashtari drishye yet anusyutam. So, in the first half, drishtau drashtari drishye, duality, samsara, dvaitam, dvaita buddhi is spoken about. In the second half of the first verse, yet anusyutam bhanamatram syat. In the second half of that, in this phrase, the second half of the first verse, the non-dual Atman is spoken about. So within duality, drishtau, drashtari, drishye, there are three things. What are these three things? These three things are associated with every piece of knowledge which happens in the mind. You see, sir, you see, madam, the mind, the jiva, fundamentally exists in samsara as the knower, karta, bhokta, jnata. There are three identities which the jiva has at every point of time. One of these three identities will be there. Either the jiva will be karta or bhokta or jnata. Karta means doer. Bhokta means experiencer, enjoyer of the karma phala. Jnata means knower, the one who knows. To be karta and jnata, to be karta and bhokta, jnata identity is important. Without knowing something, nor one can enjoy, or one can experience. The knower identity of the jiva, the knower identity of the individual is the fundamental identity. Jnata is the fundamental identity. So this jnata or knower is one half or one third of the whole duality. What are the other two thirds? One third is the knower, the second of the third. The second one third is the knowledge which happens. The third one third is the object of knowledge. For example, consider the statement, I see a computer in front of me. So I see a computer in front of me. What is it? This statement, it reveals something. What does it reveal? I, the knower. I am the knower. What do I know? I know that there is a computer in front of me. So the object of knowledge is the computer in front of me. Then the knowledge which I got now is the knowledge of this particular machine which lies in front of me. I have knowledge about that. I have got a knowledge of this. Knowledge of this computer existing in front of me. What do I have the knowledge of? That is the computer. Who has the knowledge? That is myself. So I am the knower. I have got knowledge about this particular thing which exists in front of me. And what I have knowledge about is the thing which exists. That is the computer. So I have three things. Jnata, Jneyam, Jnanam. Jnata stands for knower. Jneyam stands for the object of knowledge. Jnanam stands for the knowledge itself. The knowing, the knowledge. What do I know? That knowledge I know. So Jnata, Jneyam, Jnanam. Another three words which tell the same thing are Drishtihi, which is vision, which is the knowledge I gain. Drishtihi, Jnanam. Drashta, which stands for knower. Jnata is also called Drashta. Jnanam is also called Drishtihi. Then Drishyam is Jneyam, that which I have got the knowledge about. What I see. The seeing, Drishtihi, the seer, Drashta, and the seen entity, the seen thing, which is Drishyam. So, same thing. These three are called Triputi. Triputi in the Vedantic tradition. Triputi stands for threefold aspect of duality. That every experience, in every experience, the dualistic experience, this Triputi exists. All experiences of something in the external world, whether it be physical world or the mental world, whether it be concepts that we are observing or the physical objects that we are observing, as long as there is a thing which exists separate from me, that is what I observe. As long as I am in the world of duality, I exist as a knower. I have knowledge about something, and that something what I have knowledge about is something outside of me. So threefold things are there. I exist, that thing exists outside me as a knower, and I know that thing, so I have knowledge about that thing. So three things exist which are different from each other. Knower is there, which is different from the knowledge. The knowledge exists, which is different from the knower, and the thing which is known is different from these two. This is the duality. So this Triputi, in all and through these, three things, in and through these three things, there is one entity which always exists. There is one entity which is lying as the substratum of these things. Anusyutam yat drashtau drashtari drishye. In the drishti, in the drashta, in and through the drishyam, there is one entity which is lying as the substratum. In and through all these three, there is one entity which is there, yad anusyutam. Bhanamatram, this entity which is lying as the substratum of these three things is bhanamatram, is nothing but pure consciousness. Bhanamatram means that which is of the nature of being illuminator, illuminating entity, the self-illumined entity, that by which you know. See, we have seen this definition for Atman before. What is the Atman? Yad manasana manute yenahur manomatam ityadi. So, like that, there is a verse which goes in the Kenopanishad, that not that which the mind knows, but because of which the mind knows. Similarly, not that which the ears hear, but because of which the ears hear. Not that which the eyes see, but because of which the eyes are able to see. This is the life principle. This is the consciousness principle. This is my real nature. This nature exists. This Atman exists. This is the Bhana Matram. This is the one which exists, the consciousness principle. Because of the existence of the consciousness principle, I become the knower. I become the knower. And I have knowledge. And I have knowledge about a particular thing. How is this the underlying substratum? You see this carefully once again. We have seen it before. Let us see it once again carefully. How is this Atman the substratum? Now you see this Triputi, knower is I, isn't it? I am the knower. When I experience, I am the experiencer. I am the knower of that, whatever I know. So it is very clear, this Atman, which is the consciousness principle, is my real nature, and that real nature must be non-different from the knower. The knower cannot be different from the real nature. The knower is not the real nature, but the knower cannot be distinctly available from the real nature of the self, because the knower is also self only. I am the knower. When you say this I is nothing but the self, and when you say knower, you have reduced yourself, or you are focusing on your nature as knowing entity. So you are saying, I am knower, I know this. Okay. So it is very clear that the consciousness principle is the substratum of the knower. Now come to the object of knowledge and knowledge. You see, this object of knowledge, when we say, suppose I come back to my example before, I see a computer in front of me. When you say, I see a computer in front of me, we revise this statement to be a more precise statement. I see a computer which is existing in front of the body. I have knowledge of the body, and I call this as my body, but it is a body. It is not clear whether it is my body or not. It is a body. It seems to be closely associated with me. That is okay. But I see a body and I see a computer which is lying near my body, outside of the body. Both the body and this computer are objects of my experience, is it not? And the fact that there is a gap which exists between my body and the computer, between this body and the computer, is also an experience. Correct. So I essentially, the so-called object of experience is only another knowledge I have. I have knowledge of this computer. I give a name for this particular thing which I have knowledge of. I call it as a computer. I give it that name because I want to differentiate it from some other thing which I experience, which I know, that is the body. I have a clear distinction that computer is not the table, computer is not my body, computer is not the wind, computer is not the air, computer is not the room in which I am. Computer is one of the things which is there in the room. Computer is lying external to my body, and so on and so forth. I distinguish this computer, this entity, from every other entity which I know at this moment. Is it not? That is how I know that there is something which is apart from that. And then the name called the computer is given to me by some previous experience. Somebody told this is called computer. Now I give the object which is front of me, I give it the name as a computer. That's it. Okay. Why are we digressing into this? All I want to say is that this notion that there is this object of knowledge, a particular object of knowledge, separate from the knowledge, is not exactly real. You observe this. Can computer exist apart from computer knowledge? I know that there is a entity called computer. Now my question is, can there be an entity called computer without you knowing that there is an entity called computer? Really speaking, what we observe, we give names for, and what we observe, those things we say it exists. Suppose we don't observe something at all, we cannot say whether it is existing or not existing. For example, suppose I say, Gaja Bujao. My teacher used to say, Gaja Bujao. Do you know what it is? We cannot say what it is because we only hear the sound, but there is no object we know associated with that sound. Is it not? So if we say Gaja Bujao exists, this line, this statement doesn't mean anything at all because we don't know what is that object called Gaja Bujao. Only when we know what is meant by that object, then we can say it is existing. For example, if there is a elephant by the name Gajabujau, then when you say Gajabujau is coming, then you know that elephant is coming. So there is a knowledge which comes in the mind when the elephant comes. Can the elephant be said to be existing? Can Gajabujau be said to be existing apart from that elephant called Gajabujau, which you know, which you are aware of? We cannot say that it exists. All things which exist, which you say exist outside or exist in your mind, are existing because of the knowledge which you have about that thing only. So in this Triputi, really speaking, there are only two things. One is you, the self, the you, the knower. Another is the knowledge. All things are knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. So we have resolved the objects of knowledge back into the knowledge now. Now, can this knowledge be said to be existing without the conscious observer of this knowledge? This is the next question Vedanta asks. Without you knowing, without you enlivening, or without you illuminating your thoughts, can the thoughts reveal anything to exist? Can the thoughts have the name called knowledge? Can you know that thoughts exist without you revealing them? The whole statement is a rhetorical statement, actually. You see, when we say, I have thoughts, I know thoughts exist, this is fine. You observe thoughts are existing. Therefore, you say thoughts exist. But now you say, I have thoughts, but I don't observe them. This sentence has no meaning. I have thoughts, but I don't observe them. I have knowledge, but I cannot know whether such knowledge exists. Such statements are meaningless. I have knowledge, but I don't know whether the knowledge exists. Such statement is a meaningless statement. When you say I have knowledge, you are already observed that knowledge. You exist first, then you observe that knowledge. Only then you can say, I have knowledge. So the conscious observer must be the fundamental existence which has to give validity to the availability or to the existence of knowledge. This knowledge which is there in your mind has to be the one which gives validity to the existence of all things in the world. So nothing in the world exists apart from your mind, which is of the form of various knowledge, and no knowledge exists apart from you, who is the conscious observer knower. So among these three things, this drashta, drishtihi, drishyam, jnata, jnanam, jneyam, the jnata's real nature is the only thing which really is independently existing. All the other two things, the Jnayam and the Jnanam, they don't exist independently of the real nature of the Jnata. The real nature of the Jnata is nothing but the Bhanamatram Atma, the consciousness principle, the absolute pure consciousness. So, this absolute pure consciousness alone becomes the Triputi, so to speak. It appears as the Triputi. It does not really become the Triputi. It is only appearing as the Triputi. It has not changed. There is an appearance of three things appearing, as though this Atman has split into three, but the splitting is happening only in a illusory sense, only in a Maya-based sense. It is mithya, we say in Vedanta. So, having understood this, the next second line, we see tatra tatra upakshinam chet, chittam chet. If the mind has become absorbed in this Bhanamatram Atma, then the mind becomes as though acquiesced, as though quietened. Is it okay? Okay. So we have seen a few verses in this particular chapter. Since these verses are very deep, I would say let us split this chapter into two sessions and we will look at the rest of the chapter in the next session. We will stop here today. Once again, let us all pray and prostrate for the welfare of the entire world at the feet of our holinesses, Sri Mahasanidhanam and Sri Sanidhanam. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.